What happens when royal family discovers that evidence they thought was buried forever has been sitting in a federal vault in Washington, D.C. all along? Because that, according to sources close to ongoing Epstein document releases, is exactly nightmare scenario now facing King Charles and Prince William. This is not about one photograph anymore. This is not about one interview that went wrong. This is about a documented trail that allegedly connects Prince Andrew to multiple properties, multiple visits, and multiple witnesses, who are now willing to speak on record. And Palace, according to royal insiders, is quietly preparing for what one source called the endgame scenario. Let me be very clear about what we are discussing here. We are talking about documents that allegedly contain detailed visitor logs, flight manifests, and witness statements that place Andrew at Epstein properties far more frequently than previously acknowledged. One source familiar with documents told reporters this week that material is extensive, specific, and deeply problematic. Another said royal family has been quietly consulting with legal experts in both UK and US about what options exist if material becomes public. The key word there is if. Because as of right now, much of this material has not yet been released, but that could change. And Palace knows it. What makes this situation particularly dangerous for Andrew is the sheer volume of material reportedly sitting in federal archives. This is not one folder. This is not one set of photographs. According to investigative reporters who have been tracking Epstein document releases for years, there are allegedly thousands of pages still under seal that reference high-profile individuals. And Andrew's name, according to multiple sources, appears repeatedly. One legal analyst explained it this way. The question is not whether damaging material exists. The question is whether it will be made public and when. That uncertainty is reportedly causing significant anxiety within royal circles. Because Palace cannot prepare for something they cannot see. They cannot control a narrative they do not yet know. And they cannot get ahead of revelations that may surface at any moment. Sources say King Charles has personally overseen efforts to limit Andrew's public exposure, not just because of what has already emerged, but because of what might still emerge. One senior royal aide was quoted as saying, "We are operating under assumption that more will come out. The only question is how much more." And here is where story takes an even darker turn. Because it is not just documents that allegedly exist, there are also reportedly videos. Videos that were allegedly recorded at multiple Epstein properties. Now, to be absolutely clear, no videos involving Prince Andrew have been publicly released or confirmed to exist. But the possibility that they exist has reportedly become a major concern within Palace. Simon Vigor, royal commentator, addressed this directly in recent interviews. He said, "The assumption is that Epstein's various properties were rigged up for that as well." He added, "We haven't seen any videos yet. But the chances of it only being that one photo of Virginia Joffrey and Andrew taken in London were minute." That assumption, whether ultimately proven accurate or not, has fundamentally shaped how royal family has responded. It explains why Andrew was removed so decisively. It explains why he has been kept out of public view. And it explains why sources say there is now a containment strategy in place. But here is the problem with containment strategies. They only work if you know what you are containing, and right now, according to multiple reports, the palace does not have full visibility into what material exists in US federal archives. They are, in effect, waiting for next shoe to drop. And sources say that waiting is taking a serious toll. One insider described Andrew's current mental state as paranoid and deteriorating. Another said he spends hours online searching for any mention of his name in newly released documents. A third source claimed Andrew has become obsessed with tracking what is being said about him, and that this obsession has contributed to his isolation, because when you are constantly waiting for worst, you begin to withdraw. You stop engaging. You stop planning for future, and according to those close to situation, that is exactly what has happened to Andrew. Don't go anywhere. What we are about to reveal about the specific properties, and the people allegedly willing to testify, will leave you speechless. So we have established that documents exist. We have established that Palace is operating under the assumption that more material will surface. But what we have not yet discussed are the witnesses. The people who were allegedly present at Epstein properties when Andrew was there, and according to legal sources tracking ongoing Epstein-related cases, there are multiple individuals who have already provided statements to federal investigators that allegedly reference Prince Andrew. Some of these statements have been made public in redacted form. Others remain under seal. But their existence is not in question. One former Epstein employee, who has spoken to media outlets under anonymity agreements, claimed that Andrew was a regular visitor to Epstein's New York townhouse, and that his visits were well known among staff. Another witness, also speaking anonymously, alleged that Andrew participated in social gatherings that included young women, who were described as Epstein's guests. Now, to be clear, participating in social gatherings is not in itself illegal or evidence of wrongdoing. But the context matters, because these gatherings allegedly took place at properties where trafficking and abuse were later proven to have occurred. And the proximity of Andrew to those environments is what makes these witness statements so damaging. One legal expert explained it this way: even if Andrew did nothing illegal, optics of being present at these locations, repeatedly, are devastating. Another added, the royal family cannot dismiss this as guilt by association, when associations are this frequent and this well documented. And that brings us to second major concern. The properties themselves. We already know from previous reporting that Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell were photographed at Balmoral. We know they were allegedly present in one of private lodges, but what has not been widely discussed is how they gained access. Who invited them? Who authorized their stay? And were there other visits that have not yet been reported? Simon Vigor raised these questions in his commentary, saying, "It's not just Sandringham. We've already seen pictures of Maxwell and Epstein at Balmoral. Not just in main building, but in one of lodges there." He continued, "And then there is Buckingham Palace itself. I'm not sure we've seen photos, but they were certainly in throne room at Buckingham Palace, and they took photos there on throne in the throne room." Let that sink in for a moment. The throne room. One of most symbolically important spaces in entire British monarchy. The idea that Epstein and Maxwell were granted access to that space, regardless of circumstances, is deeply troubling. And it raises serious questions about who facilitated that access. Was it Andrew? Was it someone else within the royal household? And why has this never been fully explained? These are not rhetorical questions. These are questions that sources say the palace has been quietly trying to answer internally for years. Because if it can be proven that Andrew personally facilitated Epstein's access to royal properties, reputational damage extends beyond Andrew himself. It implicates the institution. It suggests a level of negligence or willful blindness that the monarchy cannot afford to be associated with. One senior royal commentator summed it up bluntly. This is not just about Andrew anymore. This is about whether the institution protected him when they should have stopped him. And that is the shift we are now seeing in public discourse. The focus is moving from Andrew as an individual to the royal family as a system. People are asking why it took so long for action to be taken. Why Andrew was allowed to remain a working royal for years after his association with Epstein became public knowledge. Why the palace issued statements defending him. Why they paid for his legal defense. Why they allowed him to walk alongside other royals at public events. The answers to those questions, according to critics, reveal an institution that prioritized reputation management over accountability. And now, with more material potentially on the horizon, that strategy is beginning to unravel. Because you cannot manage a reputation when the evidence keeps expanding. You cannot control a narrative when new witnesses keep emerging. And you cannot protect an individual when the cost of that protection threatens the entire institution. Sources say King Charles understands this. That is why he acted decisively in late 2023 to remove Andrew from public life entirely. But the question now is whether that action came too late. Whether the damage has already been done, and whether the documents still under seal in Washington, D.C. will prove that the palace knew far more than they ever admitted. Stay with us, because what we're about to reveal about Andrew's financial desperation and the £47 million question changes everything. So here is where this story takes a turn that nobody saw coming. And it involves money. Specifically, £47 million. That figure has been circulating in royal circles for months now, and it relates to a theory that has gained traction among legal analysts and royal commentators. The theory goes like this. If damaging material exists in federal archives, material that could destroy what remains of Andrew's reputation and potentially implicate wider royal family, then that material has value, not moral value. Financial value. Leverage value, because in world of high-stakes litigation and settlement negotiations, evidence is currency. And evidence involving a member of British royal family is worth a fortune. One legal analyst, speaking to The Sun, put it bluntly. If someone has documents or videos that could prove Andrew's involvement in illegal activity, they could name their price. Another said, the royal family has already shown they are willing to pay to make problems go away. They paid Virginia Giuffre. Why wouldn't they pay again if stakes are even higher? Now, to be clear, there is no public evidence that any such negotiation has taken place or is being considered. But possibility has reportedly been discussed within royal legal circles, and that possibility is what the £47 million figure allegedly represents. It is estimated cost of a settlement that would include non-disclosure agreements, legal releases, and suppression of any remaining evidence. Some sources claim that King Charles has been advised to prepare for this scenario. To have funds available in case a situation arises where payment is only way to prevent further damage. Others say the palace has categorically ruled out any such payment, and that they are committed to letting the legal process play out. But here is the problem. The legal process in United States is unpredictable. Documents can be unsealed by court order. Witnesses can be compelled to testify. And material that was once considered private can become public with a single judicial decision. The palace cannot control that. They cannot negotiate with a judge. And they cannot prevent the release of material that is sitting in federal custody. So they are left in a position of reactive crisis management. Waiting for the next document release. Waiting for the next witness to come forward. Waiting for the next headline, and Andrew, according to sources, is waiting most of all. Because unlike the rest of the royal family, he is not insulated by distance or plausible deniability. He is the one whose name appears in the documents. He is one whose face appears in the photographs. He is the one who gave interview that failed so spectacularly. And he is one who now reportedly spends his days in near total isolation, watching television, scrolling through news websites, and waiting for the other shoe to drop. One source described his daily routine as almost catatonic. Another said he barely leaves his home, and has stopped engaging with even close friends. A third claimed that Andrew has become fixated on conspiracy theories, and believes that unnamed enemies are working to destroy him. Whether that fixation is based in reality, or is a product of paranoia is unclear. But what is clear is that Andrew's mental state has deteriorated significantly, and the palace, according to multiple reports, is now quietly monitoring him to ensure that he does not spiral further. That monitoring is not official. It is not a formal intervention. But it is real. And it reflects the seriousness of concern within royal circles, because the worst-case scenario for the monarchy is not just more damaging documents. It is Andrew publicly unraveling in a way that becomes a media spectacle, It is Andrew giving another interview. It is Andrew making accusations. It is Andrew refusing to stay silent when silence is only strategy. Palace has left. So they watch. They manage. They contain. And they wait to see what comes out of Washington, D.C. Next point. One final question to consider. If you were in King Charles's position, and you knew that evidence potentially existed that could destroy your brother and damage institution you now lead, what would you do? Would you pay to suppress it? Would you let it come out and deal with fallout? Or would you cut ties completely and let Andrew face the consequences alone? That is the decision that sources say is quietly being debated within highest levels of the royal household. And it is a decision that may have to be made sooner than anyone expected, because documents are still there. The witnesses are still talking. And the story is far from over. If the story shocked you, smash that subscribe button and ring bell for more explosive revelations mainstream media won't touch.